For the past couple of days, I've been playing that new Tier 6 Premium BA Italian battleship, trying to get some games that I could string together into a review. But to be honest with you, I haven't been enjoying my time in the ship. Now, that ship, the BA Binah, is, well, some people early on in the update were comparing it to this ship, the legendary tier Italian battleship Lauria. Why? Well, because both of them have 8 main battery guns, and both of them shoot sap from those main battery guns. Although BA Binah does have main battery reload booster, whereas Lauria does not, and Lauria's guns are much bigger at 457 compared to, I believe, the 380 or the 381s on BA Binah. Of course, that ship came alongside a new commander, Konuri Maki, whose name I'm probably butchering. You can see her on the screen here. I've got her at the helm of Lauria in this battle because I thought, well, people are comparing this Tier 6 battleship to Lauria. What if we took the actual thing out with the new BA commander at the helm? How would it perform? Well, the results I found on this match in Two Brothers, and I think maybe the match is more interesting than the specifics about the commander. Early on, we're pushing out to this flank here, and initially the goal was to get to that chain of islands to the left-hand side so that we could put at least one of those between us and whatever enemies happen to be on this flank, and then maybe in that way we could push forward and island hop a little bit. That was my initial thought process anyway. It's not going to quite work out that way because some interesting develops are going to be happening here on this Two Brothers map. But until we get there, this new Italian battleship commander, for the build, I've got Kondo and Iachino as her inspirations, and if you take a look at her skill tree, it's sort of like one of those hybrid battleship commanders, sort of like the infamous Henry J. Hyde, where in the first row we can get Flammable Cannoneer, and in the fourth row we can get Master Mechanic. That'll give us a total, at least with this build, of 4 heals on Lauria. I only have this Maki woman up to rank 12, legendary 2, so we don't have Master Mechanic fully maxed. But just because of that ability to combine Flammable Cannoneer for extra range and accuracy on the main battery guns, and then Master Mechanic for extra survivability, I would say this is not a bad commander to pick up. And of course, you can buy the commanders separately from the new BA ships. It's just that both the ships and the commander are in a bundle together if you just want to straight up buy the, oh wow, we just got Citadel there by Yamato twice. That's nice. But anyway, if you want to buy the ship, you also have to buy the commander alongside of it, so you're paying more doubloons. But if you just want the commander itself, they're all 5,000 doubloons. I don't know that Konuri Maki is worth picking up. We do have Iachino, but the major difference there is that Iachino doesn't have Master Mechanic in the fourth row. He does have a legendary skill called Testudo that will give you 1 extra heal. Master Mechanic, of course, will give you up to 2. But the unique traits on the Konuri Maki woman are the base trait, which gives you a buff to Battleship Dispersion. At rank 12, legendary 2, the buff is 3.5%. And then her unique skill is in the fourth row, so you'd have to give up Master Mechanic in order to use it. It's called Paint Them All, and it increases battleship projectile damage per 1% of enemy HP by 0.9% for every 1% of enemy HP. I think that means as the HP goes down on the enemy ships, the damage from your guns increases a tiny little bit. I don't see that as being worth it to give up for Master Mechanic, so I've got her built with Master Mechanic. And we've only got 4 heals. We could have 5 if she was rank 16. In her legendary row of skills, she's got Fight Fire with Fire and Testudo. I've opted for Fight Fire with Fire because I think it is the best legendary tier or legendary row battleship skill. The reason I say that has very little to do with a special effect that procs when you have 3 fires going simultaneously and no damage control available. It just puts out the fires for you in that case. But the main value of the ship is, number 1, it allows only 3 fires to burn at any one time without any skill to reduce the number of fires simultaneously burning. Battleships will get 4 fires, up to 4. So there's that. and then it reduces fire damage for each fire your ship has active, up to 9% at rank 12, legendary 2. It's a great survivability skill, certainly helps out Lauria. Of course, it doesn't help you avoid citadels if you get broadside to Yamatos out there, but as you can see, this battle is developing in such a way that, well, the enemy team is setting themselves up for failure here. Most of them, for one reason or another, I don't know why, but most of them have pushed onto this flank. There are 5 capital ships over here, 3 of which we can see, 2 of which are dark, those being a cruiser and a battleship. But there's even one more ship here. One of the enemy DDs is on this flank, so that's 6 ships in total. There's the DD. He's going straight back to port as he gets spotted by that cruiser out there in the distance. He's got no HP. I expect him to go down, like, literally right now. No, wow, he takes out the Des Moines. Forgot that happened. What a terrible development. Meanwhile, the other enemy destroyer is up inside of the enemy cap, and he appears to be alone up there. Whatever support he had on that flank may have been the 2 battleships on the red team that were sunk, and he's alone. He's pushing straight into 4 of our teammates that are about to get into his base. We've got 1 red battleship back there in the distance who's recognized that and is going back to play the base. Meanwhile, our base is vulnerable to that no HP destroyer that just YOLO torpedoed the Des Moines and is now going to enter our cap and start flipping it. I'm fairly close to the cap. Ideally, I could be able to get back there, but we've got a problem. The problem is I'm still spotted. Now we're dark, so we can turn and head more toward our base. But the big problem here is that if I get spotted, which I do because I shoot my guns at the enemy Des Moines, well, then I have to give broadside to that side of the map in order to sail back to the cap. And if I reach it, I've got a DD to deal with. Can't really give broadside right now that I'm spotted, not with that battleship out there. We've already seen what happens when Lauria gives broadside. So we allow ourselves to go dark. We are trying to head back toward the cap, and we fire again. I don't know why we honestly keep doing this in this battle. I feel like I've noticed at this point that the cap is turning red. Maybe I just assumed that I have no ability to get back there. In any case, somebody else on the blue team has recognized the danger that even though we are in prime position to win this battle, with the enemy giving up complete control of the opposite flank and us taking advantage of that and pushing into the cap, we're in a prime position to win, but we can't do that if the low HP destroyer that just demolished our Des Moines manages to flip our base. So luckily, our last remaining destroyer is sailing back in that direction. Hopefully, he's fast enough to reach the cap before we get capped out. But now we really are trapped in a scenario where we absolutely cannot be giving broadside to USS Wisconsin in order to turn back and defend the base. So we're going to have to fight both him and the Des Moines and just hope that our destroyer is able to make it. Spoiler alert, the cap is 3/4 taken by that enemy DD, but our destroyer is going to make it back in time. We've also got a cruiser sailing up the channel in an attempt to reach the base again. Meanwhile, Wisconsin, well, very difficult to angle towards SAP, especially when you got a superstructure as big as an Iowa-class battleship. You might be able to heal up some of that, but these are 457mm SAP guns, and they smash. So I don't think he's going to be floating for too much longer. Not if we get some good dispersion here and the SAP lands. There he goes. That is our first kill of the game, actually, and we're up to about 140k. Meanwhile, our friendly destroyer does succeed in making it back to the cap, along with the cruiser. They spotted and eliminated the enemy destroyer quite quickly, and so now we're in prime position to win. The rest of the enemy forces are composed of this Des Moines and some other cruiser, both of which are still on this flank. Des Moines has 27mm bow armor. These are 18-inch guns, 457. They overmatch 30. The SAP overmatches just like AP, so we're able to shoot right through the bow. But then again, Lauria is not the most heavily armored battleship in the world. Des Moines HE can really hurt, So can, for that matter, defense HE, and we've only got 10,000 HP. Well, 7,000 after that salvo from defense. Couple shells overmatching through the bow there with the sap, but we are well on our way back to port, so we only have one option left, and that is to ram. There we go. Ramming, people consider it to be dishonorable, but if you push into an enemy ship and they've got more HP than you, you're about to be sunk immediately. Well, that would be the time to ram. We get the kill on the Des Moines, 166,000 damage done. All that's left is defense, but we've kept his base, so we win. Interesting little developments on Two Brothers. It offers games like this that maybe other maps don't quite offer. We're top of the leaderboard there. We've got this Kunuri Maki at the helm. I don't know that she's like that great of a battleship commander to choose. I'd say if you wanted to buy one of the BA commanders, Takanashi Hoshino is the best choice, but any battleship commander that combines Flammable Cannoneer and Master Mechanic together, well, there's some value in that. So, hope you enjoyed this video. If so, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.